The government loses its Brexit battle at the highest court in the land.
The Supreme Court rules that the government cannot trigger Article 50 without an Act of Parliament authorising it to do so.
Campaigners welcomed the ruling that politicians must have a say before Theresa May begins the process of quitting the EU.
No government can expect to be unanswerable or unchallenged.
The government insists the ruling will not derail its plans. Tonight, we examine the implications. So on the programme, councils in England tell ITV News raising taxes will not solve the crisis in social care. Who killed Barry Pring, the mystery of the British millionaire and his young internet bride? And
City of Stars.
La La Land tops the race for the Oscars with a record 14 nominations.
This is the ITV Evening News with Mary Nightingale.
Good evening. The government's Brexit plan was dealt a bloody nose today after it was defeated in a landmark ruling at the Supreme Court. Judges said Parliament must give its approval before the formal process of leaving the EU is triggered. Well, the decision was welcomed by campaigners who brought the case, but it was far from a knockout blow. The government has promised a Brexit bill within days and insists there is no going back. Our political editor Robert Peston on the ruling and the reaction.
Theresa May used to getting it pretty much all her own way since becoming Prime Minister in July. But this businesswoman, Gina Miller, has succeeded where Labour Party and press has failed. She forced a dramatic change of government policy by taking the PM to court. And here are the judges in the highest court in the land, the Supreme Court, ruling on whether the Prime Minister has the exclusive power to take us out of the European Union under so-called Article 50, or whether she needs the approval of MPs and Lords.
Today, by a majority of 8-3, the Supreme Court rules that the government cannot trigger Article 50 without an Act of Parliament authorising it to do so.
So here's the winner in disgruntled people versus government, Gina Miller.
No government can expect to be unanswerable or unchallenged. Parliament alone is sovereign. This ruling today means that MPs we have elected will rightfully have the opportunity to bring their invaluable experience and expertise to bear in helping the government select the best course in the forthcoming Brexit negotiations.
Due to her defeat, the government will now present a bill authorising Brexit talks in just the next few days, so that she can trigger the process of leaving the EU under Article 50 by the end of March. That would kick off 2 years of talks prior to the formal date of departure in March 2019.
This timetable has already been supported by this House.
The Brexit minister was flanked by a Prime Minister who didn't look as though she thought the judges had given her a lovely present.
This judgment does not change the fact that the UK will be leaving the European Union, and it's our job to deliver on the instruction the people of the UK have given us. I trust no one will seek to make it a vehicle for attempts to thwart the will of the people or frustrate or delay the process of exit from the European Union.
But even on his and the Prime Minister's side of the House, they want more information.
I would like a white paper which we could debate. It will bring us together, I would say to my right honourable friend.
So, will he be Theresa May's Brexit friend or foe?
We will allow Article 50 to be triggered because that is the result of the referendum. We will be holding them to the utmost scrutiny and account on every single phase of this process.
When it comes to that vote, 3-line whip?
I seek to persuade. I do my best to ask colleagues to come along with me.
Here at the Supreme Court, they say what the law means. Now MPs and Lords have to make a new law to begin the process of taking us out of the EU and just possibly constrain the way that Theresa May does it, which she won't like one little bit. Robert Peston, ITV News.
Well, Supreme Court judges also ruled today on who can't vote on triggering the start of Brexit. Regional governments in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland do not, it said, need to be consulted. But the devolved nations said that showed they're not being treated as equals. Well, in a moment we hear from voters in Wales. But first we get the view from people and politicians in Scotland.
My love is like a red, red rose that's newly sprung in June.
As Scotland's capital prepares to celebrate Robert Burns Day, it is a reminder that this proud nation has long had its own distinct traditions and voice. After today's court ruling, though, there's a growing feeling that voice is being drowned out.
Considering the majority of Scotland voted to remain, I think it's a real shame that we're not going to get a say in the matter.
From the Scottish Parliament?
From the Scottish Parliament.
I think it's totally undemocratic and unfair. I mean, the Scottish Parliament should have a say.
But some here will tell you it's time Scotland started singing from the same hymn sheet as the rest of Britain.
I myself would have voted to remain in the EU, but at the same time, we are one country, and Scotland and England and Northern Ireland and Wales voted to leave, and that's democracy.
Every time somebody gets a vote against them, they want to change the ruling and have another one.
And there could well be another vote. The First Minister here thinks IndyRef 2 is more and more likely.
Are we happy to allow our future to be dictated by a Westminster government with one MP in Scotland, or is it time to take our future into our own hands?
For Auld Lang Syne.
Scotland does have a say in the Brexit vote at Westminster through its 59 elected MPs. They are a minority though, and there's no obligation on the rest of the Parliament to listen. Peter Smith, ITV News, Edinburgh.
At the Breakers Yard in Cardiff, there's a lifetime's experience of dismantling machinery. Wales wanted out, and Westminster is in the driving seat. That's not a position that worries everybody here.
Well, I think things are going to be a lot better, to be true for you. That's what I really think. And it's left to them up there. You ought to know what they're doing and getting paid for doing it, so let them crack on and do it, innit?
But others simply hope that politicians will unite.
Work together. That'd be better, wouldn't it? If we work together, and we're getting with them, like.
But the Danish bakery business is brisk, and more than anything, there's an appetite for an end to uncertainty.
If you could just get on with it, let us know what's going to hit us, we can deal with it. But the whole guessing and doing little steps forward all the time is actually quite unnerving for everyone.
Politicians are cut out by the law, but still fighting.
Do you feel just a little less powerful today than you did yesterday?
Well, I wouldn't put it in those terms. I think the point is about the rights of the people in Wales to have their voices heard through their elected representatives. That's what we're seeking to establish here. That's just a basic question of democracy as far as we're concerned.
Some in Wales feel their future hangs in the balance, but this is uncharted territory, and predicting how the break pans out is a dangerous business. Rupert Evelyn, ITV News, Cardiff.
Well, let's return now to our political editor, Robert Peston. Robert, how much of a problem is today's ruling then for the government?
Well, look, it's not a good look for any Prime Minister to be overruled by judges. And to be absolutely clear, Theresa May wanted a free hand in Brexit talks. She's not going to get it. But this place, Parliament, will give her the authorisation she wants to start those Brexit talks in April. And from that point of view, people would say, well, what's all the fuss about? Well, the fact is that MPs will attempt to tie her hands a bit. They want more information in the form of a white paper. They want to make sure that the vote at the end of the 2-year process is one that is meaningful, that doesn't effectively mean that they have a choice between a bad deal and a terrible deal. So the government is anxious about all of this, but to be absolutely clear, they will have an overwhelming majority in favour of starting Brexit negotiations because most Labour MPs will vote with the government.
OK, Robert Peston in the House of Commons, thank you. Now, the vast majority of local authorities in England have told ITV News that raising council tax to pay for social care will not solve the crisis. Bills can be increased by an extra 3% under new rules, but many told us the money would simply be a sticking plaster. Well, last week, Surrey County Council said it needed to put up tax by 15% to pay for its shortfall in funding. Our health editor, Rachel Younger, has this special report.
It's a daily struggle to do the little things, like picking up the post. The bigger battles, like simply getting dressed every day, are long since lost.
I need carers for the morning and I need carers for the night because I can't cook. I'm not allowed in the kitchen in case I fall. Or try till I can't lift anything.
But John hasn't had a carer since September, despite his muscle-wasting disease, because the council doesn't have anyone trained to meet his needs. So his wife Olive, struggling herself after a stroke, does the best she can.
It takes away your dignity because you can't get showered and anything like that and you start smelling. Just put a little off the shave on. Yeah.
It's a crisis in care the government's addressed by allowing a ring-fenced additional 3% rise in council tax to pay for it. ITV News asked all 152 English councils whether that would help. Of 112 which responded, 30 councils, that's over a quarter, said it would make no difference at all. 79 more, or well over two-thirds, said it would make very little difference. Only 3 councils agreed the rise would make a substantial difference to their ability to help, and not a single local authority believed the rise offered a complete solution to the crisis.
A number of local authorities told us they believe the social care precept is discriminatory because it's essentially a double whammy. In the most deprived areas, it raises the least to be shared amongst more people who can't afford social care.
It means John's home city of Liverpool has been hit particularly hard, but it's Tory Surrey threatening a 15% rise. 5 years of government cuts hitting every corner of the country, from the Lizard to Leeds.
There's a real sense of denial. Quite frankly, the view across the sector is that this is just a sticking plaster.
And while John and Olive are resigned to the smallest tasks taking forever, the Prime Minister's promise to find a long-term solution to this doesn't seem to be coming much quicker. Rachel Younger, ITV News.
More than £5 billion has been wiped off the value of BT after it uncovered a major financial scandal at its Italian business. Shares in the telecoms giant plunged by more than 20% this morning. The accounting irregularities in Italy alone could cost the company more than £500 million. Now, the family of a 15-year-old boy who was stabbed to death near his school say he was a good pupil and not involved with gangs. Kamari Barnes was attacked yesterday afternoon close to Capital City Academy in northwest London, and a 15-year-old boy has been arrested. Juliet Bremner is at the scene tonight. Juliet, what have you been able to find out about this?
Well, this attack happened just as the pupils were leaving Capital City Academy here in northwest London at around 3:30 yesterday afternoon. As you said, the victim has been named as Kamari Barnes. He was an 11th year student. He should have been sitting his GCSEs this summer. Some of the pupils actually saw what happened. They witnessed him running back down the road, shouting, "He's going to stab me," and he collapsed just yards in front of the school gates, but nothing could be done to save him. All day we've seen his friends, teachers and other parents coming to pay tribute. They're describing as a loving, talented boy. They say he was particularly good at drama, and his grandmother came here this afternoon for a vigil, and she said everybody should realise that we must put an end to knife crime. The 15-year-old is still being questioned by police.
OK, Juliet Bremner in Willesden, thank you. Still to come here on the ITV Evening News, the mysterious death of the British businessman celebrating his wedding anniversary in the Ukraine. And
I have to find my way back home.
The true story that's earned a British actor an Oscar nomination. And those stories and more after the break. Join me then. Hello again, welcome back. The family of a British businessman have told his inquest they believe he was murdered in Ukraine by his internet bride for his money. 47-year-old Barry Pring from Devon seemingly died after a road accident in Kiev as he celebrated his first wedding anniversary with his young wife. The coroner today ruled that he had been unlawfully killed, as Duncan Golestani now reports.
Barry Pring was said to be besotted with his new wife, an exotic dancer he found through a Ukrainian website. But of Gana Zuzina, his family were doubtful. They described her as cold, demanding and unloving. At an inquest into his death, Barry Pring's family and friends went further, accusing Gana Zuzina of murdering him to get his money. The couple was celebrating their first wedding anniversary in Ukraine when he was hit by a vehicle, possibly a lorry. Witnesses felt it was deliberate. Today, the coroner concluded the 47-year-old had been tricked into standing on a carriageway to hail a taxi, despite it being the wrong direction. She said his guard was lowered by inebriation. The car had stolen licence plates and did not brake or stop. In my view, it is overwhelming. I am satisfied beyond reasonable doubt that Barry John Pring has been unlawfully killed.
The conclusion today was what we expected. However, that conclusion still isn't going to get justice for Barry.
No closure at all. And we'll keep fighting until we get justice.
The inquest heard after her husband's death. Gana Zuzina sold his Range Rover, belongings and took money from his bank account. Having given statements to the Ukrainian police, she declined repeated requests to help the inquest. Duncan Golestani, ITV News.
In other news, Rolf Harris will not give evidence at his second trial. The 86-year-old denies allegations of indecent and sexual assault. He's following the proceedings by video link from Stafford Prison. Shares in EasyJet fell today after it revealed the weak pound could cost it £100 million this year. EasyJet said its finances were also hit by rising fuel costs. And the Duchess of Cambridge today met patients and their families at a children's hospice in Norfolk. The Duchess also joined an art therapy session. And finally tonight, the musical La La Land has received a record equalling 14 nominations for this year's Oscars. Meryl Streep also broke new ground with her 20th nomination. As our arts editor Nina Nana has the details.
It has scaled the heights not even Mary Poppins achieved. In fact, no other musical has had so many nominations. 14 in all for La La Land, equalling the all-time record for any film. Emma Stone, up for Best Actress, said today she was overjoyed and hoped the film was bringing a kick in their step to those who watch it.
At some point, you got to decide for yourself who you're going to be.
And after the Oscars all-white diversity row of last year, the coming-of-age drama Moonlight signals that this year is different, non-white actors included in the 4 relevant categories. Leading the charge for Britain is Bond star Naomi Harris, up for Best Supporting Actress. Speaking earlier, she said for such a small-budget film as Moonlight, recognition goes a long way.
It's a big deal for a movie like this because we don't have a big publicity budget. You know, it's not like other movies who can use adverts on TV and so on like that. We just don't. So it would make a huge difference to us.
Calcutta. Which part? I'm adopted. I'm not really Indian.
Today, British actor Dev Patel said the news that he'd been nominated for his role in Lion was struggling to sink in. Making Lion, he said, would forever be one of the most memorable experiences of his life.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sergeant. I can't touch a gun.
With few British nominations in the main categories, which are dominated by American talent, Brit Andrew Garfield has beaten off the competition for a Best Actor nomination for Mel Gibson's war drama Hacksaw Ridge. But the last note surely to Meryl Streep, breaking her own record with her 20th nomination, the undoubted Queen of Hollywood. Nina Nana, ITV News.
And that is all for now. Tom Bradby is here with news at 10, but from me and all the team, have a great evening. Bye-bye.